Hello everybody, Matthew Armstrong here on day 47 of our 90-day transformation process from mediocrity to mastery. And it's a pleasure to be speaking with you again today. And you know, I'm aware that the quality of these trainings, the video quality, the audio quality isn't great. I'm well aware of that. And I've mulled it over a number of times. Should I just make a video and then upload it instead of doing these live trainings? Since we're past the halfway mark, I'm thinking, will I do that now or just keep going the way I am? I have made improvements. We did get extra bandwidth installed. I got a microphone, a very high quality microphone to use to improve things, and still I'm aware that it's still not great. It's still a little bit hard to listen to. So anyone that has been listening and watching all of these, you know, I do commend you for that, because even when I listen to them, I'm thinking, you know, some of it's hard to listen to because of the audio quality. The video, that doesn't matter so much, because really it's the words that you're hearing and the tonality that is more important than actually just seeing my face, right? So you know, at a point now where I'm looking to decide, will I just make the videos now? And because you know, the challenge was to do live, right? That was a challenge, to do a live event every single day for 90 days. That was a challenge, and so I don't want to cop out of that challenge. But at the same time, I'm looking at things wisely and thinking, for the sake of the quality, for the sake of the watchability, will I make videos instead now and just have them uploaded every single day? I'll leave it up to you. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. If I don't hear from you, then I don't know. I do appreciate all comments, even the criticisms, even the non-constructive criticisms. It's all cool with me. Okay. Those are some of the fears I got over quite a long time ago. Was criticisms, was rejections, things like that. And that's something we're talking about today. If you have watched yesterday's, then today's a follow-on. We're going through the 7 fears, talking from the Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini. You can go to drdemartini.com and get your book there. And if this is the first training you've watched, then make sure you watch them all sequentially after you've watched this one, especially the last one, which today carries on from there. So we're talking about the 7 fears, and fear is, well, fear is our friend. Fear is our friend because we can transform fear into power, right? And anyone who says that they don't have any fears are living inside their comfort zone, and what they really mean is they've just turned their back on their fears. They're not facing their fears, and they're deciding to focus on everything that's kind of comfortable and they're certain about, rather than looking at the unknown and looking at the path of uncertainty, right? And really, that's where the fear is. The fear is in uncertainty, right? Maybe doing things we haven't done before, or living a way we haven't lived before, or being a way we haven't been before, or just doing things at a different level, right, than we haven't done before. So the fear is really the unknown, right? What can happen in the unknown? Will we fail? Will we be rejected? Will we lose this or that? Will we lose something material, or will we lose the respect of someone? Love someone, or will we look stupid? You know, all these sorts of fears come up, right? And they're there for us to break through. But even after we break through the fears, we will come to a new level And on that new level, we'll be given a new set of fears on a new level, right? So there's no one walking around, as far as I'm aware, that doesn't have fears. Some people shut them off and decide to be in denial and just focus on the things they're totally certain about. And then people that live in complete comfort zone and are really stagnant in their life and not moving forward. And then there are those that see all the fears, but they're living in fear and they don't actually do anything about it. They're in a state of procrastination, a state of reaction. And then there are those that face their fears, get knocked down sometimes, get back up again. And then there's some that have really mastered this sort of thing and really mastered their minds and will feel the fear and just, as the saying goes, just do it anyway, right? And embrace the fear, realizing that the fear is our friend. The fear is there to help us, right? You know, when we see a tiger in the jungle, the fear of being eaten can be a good thing, because that actually gives us the adrenaline to be able to run away very fast, right? And it's something that we've got to realize, that fear is our friend, yeah? And the feelings of fear in our body, that's actually mechanisms of the body actually protecting us. It's actually looking after us. And as a martial artist, you get to realize that. You know, when you get the butterflies in the stomach or the legs of jelly whenever you're in a fight or a confrontation or something, that's actually a good thing. That's actually the body preparing itself for fight or flight. It's preparing itself for battle, or to be able to run away very fast. Everything becomes heightened. You can slow down time even. It's quite incredible. And when we can get a handle on that, then we can use it as our power rather than something that stops us, right? So the fears that you know, a couple of fears that would have maybe held me back at times in the past, or would have affected me, is the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. That's when I really looked at my fears and said, you know, what really holding me back with this? You know, why aren't I taking action on this, etc. Okay, well, it's the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. And then when I looked at those fears deep, I said, well, what are those fears really? Well, the fear of failure goes down to a core fear. There's two core fears, and the core fear is, the fear of failure is the fear of not being good enough, right? It's a core fear that we all have, is the fear of not being good enough, right? Not measuring up. And that happens quite often when we subordinate ourselves to others, when we see others as being better than us, or being at a higher level, or whatever. And when we do that, then we can feel that fear of not being good enough. And we subordinate and we become disempowered. But one of the greatest sayings in the Bible is that when Jesus supposedly said, everything that I can do and have done, you can do this and much more. I am paraphrasing, by the way. So everything I have done, you can do this and much more, is what he said to the books. And that is a mark of a great leader. A great leader will say to you, whatever I have done, whatever I'm doing, there's no difference between me and you. You can also do this and more. You know, don't even look at me as the limit. Don't even look at me as the bar. You can go much further than this. And realizing that can take that fear of failure away. When we start to realize our true selves. Other fear of rejection. When I looked at fear of rejection, why do I fear being rejected? What does that mean? And then when I look at that fear deeper, it's the fear of not being loved. The fear of not being loved. You know, and that's also connected to the fear of like looking stupid or whatever. It's all connected to the fear of not being loved, right? And that goes to a core fear that we have, that fear. So once we can look at these fears and really sort of dissect them, you know, what does that mean? Fear of not being loved. If I do this, will people really not love me? Does it really matter if people love me or not? Maybe it just matters that the people who desire to love me, that's what's important. Because I can't control everybody's reaction or response to how I am or how I behave or whether I measure up to their expectations or not, right? So once we can really look at the fears and analyze them, they start to fall away, they start to dissolve. As, you know, the mnemonic is fear, false evidence appearing real, right? And that's quite apt, because when you actually look at fear, you start to, it starts to fall away, it starts to break apart. You're like, oh, look, that's an illusion. That's not really real. And so, you know, those are two main fears to challenge head on. If you're being stopped by the fear of rejection or the fear of failure, challenge those fears head on. You know, realizing that failure is simply feedback. It's simply, you know, the universe telling you how this is not working, right? It's all getting a result, but the result is, okay, well, here's the feedback, here's the result. Okay, now I'll change my approach so I get a different result. Failure is actually a helping hand from the universe. If there was no failure, how could we work things out? How could we grow? What would be the point? It's all here to help us. Fear is our friend. So I'm going to read from the book now, going through we've already been through the first two fears. Now we're on the third fear, which is the fear of failure. I don't believe in the idea of failure. I believe that what most people call failure is simply feedback. When you're truly inspired by something and it is linked to your highest values, you cannot fail because you don't give up. You just keep pursuing your objective. You might fall, maybe even several times, but you'll just keep getting back up again. So if you fall and don't get back up, what is that? That is a gift, because your unwillingness to get up again is letting you know that what you're going after isn't really all that important to you. You don't give up on the things that truly matter to you. You don't only give up on the things that don't. This is why I say that there is no failure. There's only feedback. Failure is just a label that you impose on yourself when you're expecting yourself to achieve something that isn't truly aligned with your highest values. That expectation was a fantasy because you are expecting yourself to live outside your highest values, which simply cannot be sustained. So what looks like failure is nothing more than feedback, pushing you to set more meaningful goals that truly are important to you. Most superachievers have a list of so-called failures greater than yours, but they don't view those experiences as failures. They too view them as feedback that allows them to further refine their goals, giving them information about the works and what doesn't, what works and what doesn't, or helping them to see more clearly what matters to them most. Each time a superachiever fails, they get back up on their feet again because they perceive that the world is working on their behalf. That's what happens when you set a goal that is completely aligned with your highest values. You tend to walk your talk. You tend to awaken your leadership and your certainty. You tend to feel grateful, and you begin to believe that everything is working on your behalf. When you live by your highest values, you are not a victim of your history, but rather a master of your destiny. On the other hand, every time you set a goal that is not congruent with your highest values, You're likely to procrastinate, hesitate, and be frustrated in your attempt to fulfill your objective. You're likely to experience the ABCDs of negativity and to minimize yourself. Then you begin to doubt yourself and compare yourself with people whose values you have injected into yourself. And then you might give up on your goal. Instead of living on the shoulders of giants as your true, authentic, and empowered self, you begin to live in other people's shadows and shrink. So if fear of failure is stopping you, the solution is very simple. Reconnect to your highest values and make sure that your mission, your highest values, and your goal are completely aligned. Make sure you have identified your highest values and then find at least 200 ways that reaching your goal will help fulfill those values. When you are in pursuit of your highest values, you are willing to experience both pleasure and pain. And so-called failures look just like momentary feedback. Once again, the values factor is the key. Fear number 4, fear of losing money or not making money. There is no lack of money on this planet. There are, however, some people who are not driven enough to go to perform the services that many other people need in order to generate or earn it. And there is a lack of creativity about coming up with inspired ways to perform those services. People who vastly care about others find ways to serve them and in turn have access to nearly unlimited reservoirs of money. There is nothing outside of you that is keeping abundant resources of money away from you. Being your true and empowered self certainly doesn't keep money away from you. Not providing the service, not appreciating the value and purpose of money, and not valuing yourself is what keeps money away from you. The greater the service you provide, the more money you can potentially generate. The more you value money, the more money will be wisely managed and keep. So if you're not saving, investing, and accumulating money, you might want to go back to Chapter 8 and link your goal of building wealth to your highest values. And if you're not generating or receiving money, you might want to figure out whom you are not serving. Every time you set a goal that is congruent with your highest values, your self-worth goes up. When I teach the breakthrough experience, I work with people who have attempted for years to run their life according to social ideals and unrealistic fantasies. And they inevitably minimize themselves in the process. Then I help them recognize their true and highest values and then to set goals that are congruent with those values. And suddenly, they see how to break through their issues and build momentum moving forward. Because they finally understand what truly drives them. Then they become more consciously congruent with their highest values, and their self-worth suddenly grows. They can more freely ask for what they want because their deserved level begins to expand. This is why it is so important to master the values factor. I have an itchy nose. Fear number 5, fear of losing loved ones or the respect of loved ones. Perhaps like many people, you fear that if you pursue fulfilling your highest values and become an inspired leader, your spouse will leave you, or your kids will think you failed them, or your parents will disown you. If these are your fears, I invite you to consider what your highest values truly are. In some cases, people's highest values revolve around their loved ones. I worked with a woman in Florida who told me that she had long desired to start her own business, but then became trapped when she became married and pregnant with a series of children. She kept fantasizing about her business and beating herself up over not ever starting it. In the back of her mind, she assumed that when her children grew up, then maybe she would do the business she had imagined she wanted to do. 20 years went by, her children all grew up and went off to college, and she told me, now I keep concerning myself with my children's lives. I can't seem to ever get around to starting up my business. I am beginning to think that maybe I am too old now. I asked what it felt like inside to say she wanted to do something and then not do it. I feel like a failure, she told me. I shook my head. What this really means is that your highest value all this time was your children, I said to her. Your business was not truly the most important value to you. If it was, you would have started it up a long time ago. So instead of torturing yourself with unrealistic expectations, why don't you just acknowledge that your children were the most important values in your life, and it is perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Your highest values dictate your destiny over the last 20 years, and they're dictating your destiny right now. They dictate what you see, what you decide, and what you act upon. Your whole life is an expression of your highest values. So if you're not fulfilled in life, it is not because you failed to do things. You are simply not appreciating yourself and your life because you unrealistically expect yourself to do something that is not truly highest on your values. As the woman questioned herself, I invite you to question yourself by considering what your life has truly demonstrated. Have your loved ones been your true highest values? Have you injected yourself some social idealisms or your highest values or some authority or loved ones? Do you think you should fulfill these values or social idealisms, but yet are not actually pursuing them because something else is truly more important to you, such as your children or some other value? You can get clarity on these issues and overcome your fears if you keep asking yourself, what are my true highest values? What is my inspired mission? Am I consciously living congruently with my highest values and my mission? Or am I subordinating my highest values to someone else's and attempting to be someone I am not? Answering those questions can help put your fears into perspective. It could be wise to review once again the 13 value determinants from Chapter 2. When we admire, are infatuated with, or become subordinate to our loved ones, we often live in fear of what they might say or do if we don't attempt to live according to their values. Until we set ourselves free of this subordination, we will live with moral dilemmas and internal conflicts. And we will judge ourselves by their values with the superego that we have internalized from them or from other authority figures. Yet all the while we are still unconsciously living according to our own true highest values. Wouldn't it be more fulfilling to simply identify those values and structure our lives around them? Or alternatively, wouldn't it be more fulfilling to change our highest values to match our intended goals? Otherwise, we are living a kind of divided life, which keeps us from finding the fulfillment and inspiration that we might otherwise attain. Fear number 6, the fear of rejection. Have you kept yourself from becoming an authentic leader because you fear that someone would reject you for doing what you love or for pursuing your highest values? This powerful fear might be keeping you not only from acknowledging and awakening your inner leader, but from even imagining that you could. We only fear the rejection of those whom we have put above us and whom we have subordinated ourselves to or are dependent upon. The moment we own that the admired traits that we imagine in these other people are inside ourselves to the same degree, we liberate ourselves from the fear of their rejection, and we give ourselves permission to play in a greater arena of leadership opportunity. Allowing your vision to grow and expand is one of the keys to reaching your full leadership potential. My earliest postgraduate profession was being a chiropractor. I worked with spinal conditions, and I did very well. I owned one of the largest facilities in Houston. Eventually, I felt it was time for me to expand further, as I recommended in Chapter 7. I started delegating the lower priority work that I found less inspiring so that I could focus only on what I found most inspiring. I hired another doctor and some staff. Then I hired a second doctor and some more staff. I ended up employing 13 doctors over the years, with 5 doctors working for me at any one time. Then I realized that public speaking in the mornings or at lunch or in the evenings could generate more patients than just sitting in my office treating patients all day. So I began speaking throughout the city of Houston, on radio and television, where I had my own show, Dr. Demartini Health Hits. I realized that what I did best was reaching out to people and inspiring them toward a wellness lifestyle a more fulfilling life. Next, I realized that I was still limiting my services to just my own office. If I wanted to expand my influence any further, I would either have to go out and build another set of offices, or else I would have to go out and teach other doctors how to do what I did while getting handsomely paid for it. I chose the latter. Then, after speaking to and consulting for thousands of doctors, I realized that I was limiting myself to influencing primarily health professionals, and there was a whole world of additional industries that I could reach. And so I gave myself permission to open the doorway and just keep going. Today, I actually influence more patients than I did in my office, because now I sometimes speak to as many as 9,000 doctors at a time while reaching out to hundreds of additional industries. My influence expanded, in other words, and when I realized that I had to give myself permission to release the shackles of my limited thinking and allow myself to do what I was inspired to do. The more I delegated responsibilities and the more congruent with my highest values that I became, the greater my vision and sphere of influence. I wonder what you could do if you kept breaking through the limits of your own fears, particularly the fear of rejection. Fear is simply an unrealistic expectation based on an imbalanced perspective. It is the assumption that as we imagine the future, we will experience more challenge than support, more pain than pleasure, more negative than positive, or more loss than gain. But the world does not ever truly provide such an imbalance. It does not have a negative without a positive. So long as we live with the unrealistic fantasy of obtaining a positive without a negative, or as long as we live in fear of a negative without a positive, we will be immobilized instead of going forward in pursuit of our mission. In the breakthrough experience, I have everybody scan their life and look at everything they believe was a mistake, and then find out how it served them and others. So they have something to be grateful for instead of something to be frustrated, burdened, or shamed by. The breakthrough dissolves the baggage and turns it into fuel. And then they break through their fears involving the future and instead allow their past experiences to catalyze them to do something amazing in their future. That is how you can overcome fear of rejection, by understanding that every perceived negative always holds great positive as well. So there is never really anything to be afraid of. Seventh and final fear, fear of somehow not having the vitality, the looks, or the body required to fulfill your mission. This is a common fear, especially among people in middle age or older, but is still just as illusory as the other 6 fears we have examined. For example, I recently worked with a 57-year-old woman who was completely preoccupied with her looks and age. I know there's no way that I can compete with 35 or 40-year-olds, she said to me. Those women are young and gorgeous, and I just know that I'm going to lose my husband to one of them, and she'll be able to do a lot more with my kids, so I'll possibly even lose my family to her. And at my job, there are a whole crop of those beautiful young women coming along, and I'm sure that they're going to get the promotions I desire, or perhaps they'll even take my job. I just can't compete anymore. I said, if you truly value keeping your husband and your job, then upgrade what you're offering physically. Look in the mirror. You're not doing everything you could to compete. Today, for a moderate fee, you can upgrade your overall appearance so that you can compete with any woman out there. If you're really worried about not having a 35-year-old's looks, why don't you pay a body trainer, dermatologist, and plastic surgeon to upgrade your appearance and also advance your education skills? She looked at me appalled. But I shouldn't have to do that, she said. Listen, I said, the reality of the world out there is that people are living according to their highest values, and youth, beauty, intelligence, and skills sell. If your husband and employer are not fulfilled by what they have, they're going to look for alternatives. It is wise to face a bit of reality. Even though you might be in a long-term relationship, if and when your highest values aren't being fulfilled, you sometimes start wondering whether your relationship is working for you. So you're not really in a relationship with another person, you're in a relationship with both of your highest values. If your loving, intimate partner is not even remotely fulfilling your highest values, you open the door for other people to potentially enter in. Relationships are often, by default, enduring only until something perceived to be more fulfilling comes along. If nothing comes along that you perceive as more rewarding, you generally stay put. Now, how do you keep the relationship you're in or the job if you still want to do that? The best way to keep it is to empower your life. Shine so that your loving partner and your employer are around somebody who appears beautiful, inspiring, and productive to them. And then master the art of communicating your talents in terms of their values, as we saw in Chapter 5. When you do this, which might mean maintaining some of your competitive beauty and skills, they won't want to look at anyone else or go anywhere else because they will be able to get a more fulfilling deal anyplace else. When you can stand up and look in the mirror and say, "Hey baby, I got something," and mean it. When you can honor what you have, the world around you will treat you the way the world inside you is treating you. But if you keep minimizing yourself to somebody else, then they are going to minimize you to somebody else. You are 57 years old. If you think a 35 or 40-year-old woman has got something more than you, you're not honoring what you have. It's equivalent. So you can either appreciate what you already have to offer, or you can upgrade your present package so you can compete with that younger woman on the grounds of appearance and skills. Or you can go and find out the benefits of your unique form of stability, intelligence, experience, and talent. You have a track record. An employer basically takes a gamble with that younger woman. Do you see what I mean? First, I showed her what she wasn't missing. Then I helped her realize that if she wanted to compete on a physical level, she could do that with a little effort. But if we are frightened by what somebody else has physically that we imagine we don't, we minimize ourselves. Some incredibly profound insights there. Especially that last one, right? That's awesome. I like the way Dr. Demartini tells it like it is, because that's the way it is. That's the reality of it, right? I'm just processing right now some of what we just read there. I want to go back and read it again because I just got that on a deeper level there. What I find amazing, really amazing about books. I love to read books. It is, if a day goes by when I haven't read something from a good book, then I don't feel right. I feel like there's something missing in my life. If a day goes by when I haven't spent some time reading something, because books are such a blessing. To be able to get inside the head of someone who's really mastered certain areas of life, and let's talk about Dr. Demartini particularly here, who said to have read roughly 30,000 books, mind-boggling, and have the multitude of experiences in these areas of life throughout his life. I find it just such a blessing to be able to have the opportunity to get inside his head and see how he sees the world, how he sees reality. And when I was reading that there, it was like at times when I was actually like going inside his head and looking out at the world through his eyes. I mean, wow. So that's how he sees everything. So that's how he's able to operate at that level. And then I feel myself coming back again, and then seeing my reality and how I operate. But the more we study these masters of life, the more we get inside their heads, the more we're able to tune in to this masterful way of living and being. And so don't let a day go by that you don't read something that has been written by a master. And that's all for today. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with me today, and click on the link below if you're looking for a vehicle for financial freedom. You want to create that dream life, and you just go, well, what do I do? I need to know what to do. I have the perfect vehicle for allowing you to potentially create that by clicking on the link below and putting in your name and email address, and then receiving more information about that. And if you just want to get on my subscriber list and receive regular updates and emails, then just click on the link below, put your email address in, and I'll be sending you regular updates as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and today is Saturday, so I'll see you again Monday, and make it a great weekend. See you then.